Hi, I'm Kevin Wing with Power Plus. Today we want to talk about heating systems and how to heat your water. If you've taken any professional cleaning course, you know that heat is king, except for protein stains. So the hotter your water, the more efficacy you have with your cleaning chemicals, and they're going to do a better job. And it's exponential. They often say that for every 10 degrees that you increase your water temperature, you double the cleaning power of your chemistry. That's not really true. It's taught that it's true, it's not, but it's close. So there's a ton of truth to it. So heat is king except for proteins. So anything that is or was living, like blood, vomit, feces, urine, grass stains, tea, coffee, blood, clean with cold water first. But everything else, heat is king. So let's talk about heat. So there's a lot of ways to heat water. In your truck mounted units, there's three main methods. There are diesel heaters, which tend to be the strongest. There are propane heaters, and there's heat exchangers. I want to talk briefly about the three so you can kind of know some pros and cons of each. By far, the hottest, most efficient systems are diesel heaters. They create the greatest amount of thermal energy, and that's measured in our industry as BTUs. That stands for British Thermal Unit. Just so you know what that is, 1 BTU will heat 1 cubic centimeter of water 1 degree. So you want big numbers. And the reason I bring that up is that we're going to compare a couple of different things so that you can have a feel for the energy differences. So you don't have to really memorize these numbers, but it's good to know that, say, a common diesel heating system might be 380,000 BTUs, where an average truck mount might be 27,000 BTUs. So it's almost 15 times hotter, more energy. And what that means is hotter water, more consistency, and you can run multi-wands or do pressure washing or do things that use large amounts of water and still heat it. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's use the two extremes, and I'll give you an example. Let's say we take an entry-level truck mount, and I'm not going to pick on any names, and it's heat exchange. They're typically 25 to 29,000 BTUs of heat. And they will advertise that the machine gets up to 230 degrees or 240 degrees, 250 degrees. You hear that. And you need to know that the key word is up to. So what that really means is if you let the machine slowly get hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, eventually it has a control system that's going to turn it off at 220, 230, 240, 250, whatever the manufacturer desires. But that doesn't mean that that's the temperature you're going to clean with. So that is marketing. So what you need to know is, what are you going to clean with? And that's a very different number. So you can clean with those temperatures as long as you only use a cup of water every 2 minutes. So those little entry-level truck mounts, they'll maintain those temperatures with tiny water flows. It means you get to pull the trigger about 1 second, and you got to wait about 30 seconds. And you go 1 second on, about 30 seconds off. Now, obviously, you see how ridiculous that is. So, but it's what you get. So when you clean normally with those machines, you're really going to see temperatures of about 120 degrees at the fiber. So not very hot at all. But it still will clean much better than cold water, 60, 70 degree water. So if you're in colder areas, it might be 50 degree water. So 120 is going to do a much, much better job. But you're not getting much bang for the buck. So that's why diesel systems come in. So how much water you use is really important to the recovery time that a heat exchanger or propane or a diesel heater can give you. So the more energy you start with, the faster your recovery time. There comes a point where your energy input into your water is so great it exceeds how much you can use, and at that point you're truly in control. You set a temperature, you get it. So you always want an abundance of BTUs, more than you need, so that you have control over what your temperature really is, and you can work the way you want to work and use the types of jets you want to use and things like that. So it takes a lot of heat. A rough number for a carpet cleaning machine for a single operator with most wands, you want something around 80,000 BTUs. So 3 times what an entry-level truck mount can give you. So that's a kind of a minimal good number. The machines like diesels, they'll commonly produce 280 to 380,000 BTUs. That will let you run 2 pressure washing guns at a time and maintain great heat output. So you can maintain 220 degrees with 2 wands with decent sized jets running with normal duty cycles. So that's why diesel's king. Step down from that, go to propane. Typical heating systems are 120,000 BTUs. More than enough for light pressure washing with single guns and any type of carpet cleaning that an operator would do with 1 operator at a time. You'll have more heat than you ever need. So again, when you set a temperature, you're going to clean at that. You have control. And then if you run a second operator, you have to both slow down a little bit or add a heat exchanger in advance like Banshees do, so that you have both a little bit of heat exchange and propane heat to make up the slight shortage, and you can run dual operators and have any temperature you want, within reason, of course. And then for heat exchange truck mounts, that's a big deal. So at Power Plus, we manufacture a lot of truck mounts, and we spent an enormous amount of time and energy developing heat exchangers with insanely high heat output. I'll just tell you personally, I don't like heat exchangers. I never have liked them. And so for the first 20 years of our manufacturing, we would not build one. But there's a place for them in the market, and people gravitate towards them. So we decided when we were going to do it, that we were going to do it right. So we spent a huge amount of time in research and development making a really, really efficient heat exchanger. So our entry-level truck mount is 75,000 BTUs, not the normal 22 or 20 to 27,000 BTUs. And our bigger units are producing 90,000 BTUs. So we approach propane. And we also manufacture propane systems, and we love them. But they have some pressure limitations too. So if you want to go above 900 PSI, you have to buy special coils. You can go to 1200. And then there's a step up that's made specially just for our company that goes to 2200. So those are some pressure options for the propane-fired systems. So heat exchangers can be built, and we do, that can run at really high pressures. So we build our units to run up to 4,000 PSI, which people go, oh, why do you need that? Well, you need that. Like I just did a job, 3-hour job, $10,000 to fix a mistake somebody made. And I was wishing I had about 6,000. So I was using one of our machines at 4,300 PSI, working pressure at the jet, which no truck mount in the world can do. I still wanted more pressure. I could have used a couple thousand more PSI. So there's some exotic jobs and some high-end pressure washing jobs. Really nice to have that kind of power to really blow through work or to even achieve minimal results. Sometimes you need well over 3,000 to do things like removing impregnators, removing wax, removing paint, epoxy coatings, graffiti removal, things like that. So you want to be 3,000 PSI and up on those jobs. And so if you're going to spend a lot of money for an asset like a truck mount, really nice to have one that's versatile, that you don't have to say no to other jobs. So you want to be able to show up and take care of any cleaning need. So that's how you make a lot of money. So you don't want to have to say, oh no, hire a pressure washing company for that, or go hire somebody else for, a flooring contractor to deal with the epoxy. So when you can actually do those jobs if you buy right in the first place. So I don't want to throw that out. Some quick pros and cons, as I see it. On diesel heaters, a pro is great heat. Some cons that are significant is they have steel coils. And what that means is they rust inside. And on a Monday morning, you plug in an upholstery tool and you try to clean upholstery with one of those heat systems, you're guaranteed to plug your jet. You will have plugged jets. And so you have to flush them to get all the rust and debris that breaks loose out. And you have to use good inline filters on them. And Monday mornings, you're going to have 1.5 gallons of rusty water in them. So it's an issue. The other thing is diesel means separate tanks usually, and diesel stinks. And diesel wicks, meaning it leaks through every fitting. So I don't care how good your mechanic is or how well the machine's built, you're going to have seepage of diesel. So it just happens. And so you're going to have a stinky van that smells like diesel. So that's a pro. Those are things, a con. So those are things that are not nice about diesel. On propane, it's a clean burning fuel, doesn't smell bad, safer than most fuels. Diesel is safer though than propane, but propane is very safe. They have redundant safety systems in them. A downside is new employees will always stick their face down in the burner to see if the pilot's lit and then turn it on, and it will burst a flame out and take off their eyebrows or eyelashes. So it's happened to every owner that I know of that has a propane system. I've done it myself a couple of times. So it's just, I've never seen anybody have a real injury, but I've seen people get their hair singed. And so there's a perception that it's not safe. And for some people, I agree. There are some people that come in to buy equipment from us and they're asking for that type of heater, and I can just tell that they're not mechanically inclined at all and they're not a good fit for it. So heat exchange truck mounts are safer for those people. And if you have a lot of employees and they share a vehicle, it's definitely better to go heat exchange. And then there's heat exchange. So big drop in performance. They're very weak compared to diesel and heater. There's a big difference. And so it means slowing down. You can slow yourself down by doing extra dry passes, which is good for speeding up dry time, but that reduces the duty cycle, allowing the machine to slowly catch up on heating the water. So, but again, you're having to work slower. You don't have tremendous heat, so grease, oil, gum, tar, those types of things, you're going to have to use more spotting agents. So particularly gum or wax, guaranteed you're going to have to use some fantastic chemistry and dwell times and things like that to get those things out. Where if you have propane or a diesel system, you can just blow through that stuff, it just melts it. So it's going to change how you clean. So there's a price to pay, but it's safer. The systems are far more expensive when they break to fix. That's a downside. So there's a performance downside. There's a cost increase on maintenance, but they're safer and they don't require the employee training or attention because you have no flames going on. So, and it's definitely perceived to be safer. So in reality, I would question that. I see people get burnt a lot because they run amok. They get out of control. Their systems break and they overheat water really easily and cause a lot of problems like ruptured hoses, and people get steam burns. So they're not really safer, but there's huge perception that they are. Anyway, I wanted to touch on those 3 different heating systems so that you guys could have a feel of some pros and cons and advantages of them. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to give us a call or check us out on the web. So this was Kevin, and thanks for listening.